Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And I am so excited that March is, of course, Women's History Month. We just celebrated International Women's Day, but you've probably heard me say it many days or many times. I think every day is Women's Day. And of course, it's important that we are supporting each other as women every single day, and, in any way that we can. I always like to say also how I know my guest. And so Melissa is a returning guest, and we had actually met because of that event. I don't even know what to say now. An organization, a movement, Wild Weepa. Okay, I'm getting over being sick, so please, I apologize. Wild Women. It's not Wild Weepa, although I kind of like that word. Wild Women of NEPA or NEPA. A couple summers ago, I had the pleasure of being a presenter, leading a workshop. It was a massive success. It was held outdoors. It was beautiful. I got to lead laughter yoga, all these great women coming together, sharing their gifts. And since then, a lot has been going on. Wild Women NEPA has been continuing, but Melissa is also a business owner. So we're going to catch up with Melissa. She's going to recap a little bit about herself for someone who might be new and hasn't heard from Melissa before. And then we're going to get into what Wild Women NEPA is all about. So welcome, Melissa Roberts. How are you today?
Thanks so much for having me on the show once again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Some people might listen, or maybe they listen and didn't hear the episode with you. So we had a great conversation. I remember we even started getting into, I want to say, even rocks and gemstones and things that I think Moldavite or something we talked about that I haven't gotten yet, but I love the idea. We may not go down that path today, but share a little bit. You're a local business owner, the Ski Shack, which has been around a while and in your family, and you've launched this and you're bringing women together. But give us a little bit of a summary about you and what led you to the path you're on now.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Melissa Roberts. I'm the third generation owner of Ski Shack in Music, Pennsylvania. We've been in business for about 42 years now. We actually won Small Business of the Year through the Scranton Chamber in 2023. And then last year, we won Product and Service Excellence because about a few years ago, I transitioned our business from a seasonal ski shop, which is actually one of the only women-owned ski shops in the entire country. And I've transitioned that more into year-round programming. So I trade my snowboard for a paddleboard. I teach paddleboarding classes. We host guided hikes, litter cleanups. We work with a lot of nonprofits and the Wild Women Festival, like you had mentioned. So that was really kind of what led up to that, is really my love of nature. I'm a mom of two young boys, and I was battling postpartum depression a few years ago. So we could talk a little bit about that on the last show, and how just being out in nature during the pandemic, when a lot of my normal coping strategies and support systems were no longer available, and how nature really healed me. And so I'm just really excited to be able to share this with so many people through the Wild Women events that we do, but also through my newly formed nonprofit, Wild Wellness NEPA. So I created a fund through the Luzerne Foundation. So it's a nonprofit fund, and we've been able to provide scholarships to the Women's Festival last year. And this winter, we actually partnered with NEPA Youth Shelter to provide 8 teenagers, at-risk youth from downtown Scranton. We provided them transportation, rentals, warm winter gear. We partnered with Montage, who provided lift tickets and meal vouchers for them all winter long. So it was a fantastic event. And I truly feel like I'm living my life's purpose now. Doing these types of events. Sure, I'm a business owner. We've been, continuing to do our mission and what we've been providing the community for many decades. But this new segment of kind of where I'm living my life, and I say the off season, right? Our business is still somewhat seasonal, but in this off season, really working in the nonprofit sector and just really community building. And you're kind of saying, what is Wild Women, right? At first, it started off as an event, but we just saw the amazing outpouring of support from the community, and how many women were saying, yes, this is where I feel comfortable. These are my women. This is what I needed. And so every event that I put together is sort of that. It's sort of what I feel like I need. If I needed sisterhood, or if I needed time in nature, or, a lot of the different guided hikes I do, I wanted to learn about mushrooms. So I partnered with Danielle Bennett, who I met through Wild Women, doing mushroom foraging hikes and things like that. So it's a really interesting time, I think, right now, because just reinventing the business, reinventing myself, and then also building a community and bringing people along with me and meeting wonderful people like yourself. It's just a fantastic community to be a part of. And I'm just really excited for this next event that we have coming up at the end of the month here.
That's a lot, which I appreciate. I mean, and honestly, we could go down any one of those paths. I will go back. I have to take a look and see when you were on last time, because anyone listening, I mean, Melissa did talk a little bit more about, her postpartum depression and different issues. So that's an interesting conversation you might want to check out as well. But I want to talk a little bit about you said nonprofit status. That's relatively new since I've talked with you. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I'm a mom of two young children. Both of my children actually have special needs. So, my oldest, he's 7 right now. When he was 7 months old, he was having about 40 to 50 seizures a day. He had a very rare seizure condition, and luckily, he has been cured of that. At that time, my first Mother's Day was spent in the hospital, learning how to give him a shot in the leg, and the doctors gave us a 5% chance he'd ever walk, talk, or feed himself. But now he's in 2nd grade. He's reading. He's talking, he does all those things. So it's an absolute miracle. My 5-year-old, he also has some complex medical needs. He had invasive brain surgery actually 2 weeks before the first Wild Women festival, believe it or not. We were down in Philadelphia in the ICU with him, and he's had an amazing recovery since then as well. So my children have really been, I think, such a source of inspiration for me, and also internal strength. There's things that I've been able to accomplish that I never thought possible, but also knowing that I couldn't do it alone. My whole life I've just been just pick yourself up from your bootstraps, do it yourself. But it really humbled me to really need to reach out and build that support community. And that's where these amazing friendships and the sisterhood that I've met has really been incredibly transformative for me. And so taking that my experience in being in the special needs area, and then seeing just the needs throughout our community, these disenfranchised individuals and communities that really need the outdoors. And I've witnessed it firsthand myself. I've seen it with my children. And I just really feel like being able to bring that to everyone. Our saying is outdoor fun for everyone. We provide outdoor programming to everyone, regardless of age, income, or ability. And we really want to make sure that those barriers don't prevent people from just seeing what's outside their door. Right here in Northeast PA, especially, we're surrounded by amazing mountains and lakes and rivers. And a lot of these are free and accessible for us to explore. So it's just what I'm trying to do is try to find opportunities with the backing of the Luzerne Foundation, having that nonprofit designation, to be able to now apply for grants and to really strengthen the programming that I've been trying to do for a number of years on my own. But again, it's brought engaging that community and being able to leverage that strength to make something that's really powerful for everyone. So fingers crossed, I did just submit my first grant. So I'm pitching an outdoor adventure, an accessible outdoor adventure day at Kirby Park down in Luzerne County here. They just unveiled a wonderful accessible playground and restroom facilities. So my vision is to have an outdoor day for people with all, whether it's intellectual, physical, or developmental disabilities, to come together and feel like you're not alone, that there is a supportive community, there are resources available, because that's what it's all about. When we get together out in nature, we're not only getting the physical benefits of fresh air and vitamin D from the sun and all of that, but when we're out there with other people, we're building that community, that social network, it really amplifies all those benefits that we're getting. So I feel like that's my life's passion, and something that I've just been very passionate about building and continuing to build out in the years to come.
Yeah, and I love that because we've talked about this before. I love the outdoors. For me is medicine too. It's everything. I can't wait to get out and kayak. I love doing that in the summer all the way through the fall, getting out and hiking. Running has kind of been on a pause because my health has been a little bit of a challenge with that as far as the breathing with the running, but I'm still walking, getting out there. But I want to go back to something that you said that ties in, and just now you talked about community and coming together outside. You had mentioned some of the many things that you do with the ski shack. And I think I heard, because my ears jumped right on it, the litter pickup, which I love, because we're working on something here I had put in for a Lackawanna County Arts and Culture grant and got it for Restart Scranton, a project that I kind of pitched to Teresa O'Connor, who's at AFA Gallery. She's an artist locally too. And the whole idea of picking up litter and then creating sustainable art from found items. But Sunday we had our pickup, and it was it wasn't meant to be a big community pickup. It was for the artists who have been invited to participate in this program so they could help clean up the community, but then also with the cool found items, working them into their art. And I have to say that Sunday, first of all, it was sunny. So that certainly didn't hurt. Like that was like, wow, we're getting sunshine. It feels good. And about 16 of us coming together, picking up, you get a source of pride, you've got community. And I have to say, because there's so much heaviness and so much negativity and so much despair and all kinds of stuff, we have to be sure to hold up the good stuff too and remind people there are good people. While we were cleaning up, we had at least 4 people. I know I had 3 people that I encountered ask me about it and were positive, and they had nothing to do with the day. They were like, this is awesome. Thank you for doing this. Another man said, do you do this every Sunday? Because I would like to be involved. And then another person was like, can I help you carry that trash bag? And she just lived a couple blocks from where we were meeting at the park. So I just want to say, I guess this is just a testament to what you're saying, how powerful it is to be outdoors and to do something as a group, to have solidarity, community, and hope. And it's healing. So I'm putting an exclamation point on what you just said.
Absolutely. Indeed. It's incredibly powerful. And especially here, and at this time of year, after all the snow kind of melts and you kind of see the trash that's alongside the roads and things like that. This is a very hard time of year for me because I'm just so compelled to just want to like get out of my car and just start picking everything up because it seems like it's more apparent than ever this time of year. So I applaud what you're doing. And I think it's so needed because I feel like when I travel outside other states, I don't see litter like I do here in Pennsylvania. And I'm not really sure what it is, but I wish that more people would take pride in our community. And that's great to hear that you had that support. And and I love what you're doing with that Restart program. I think that's just so needed. And it's just a great way to tie in both, the earth and the natural aspect of it, but then also tying into a great artist community that we have here in Northeast PA.
Yeah, thank you. And to follow up too on what you just said, I have a friend actually she was on the podcast. She moved to Canada because her husband is a Canadian farmer. She met him in the US, but she comes back and forth. And she did say kind of what you just said too, that like in Canada, they don't have as much litter. And when she comes home, even in other states, as you said, and I don't know what exactly it is, but I wish we could figure it out. I don't understand, but I don't want to derail the conversation because I could talk about that forever. So the nonprofit sounds wonderful. You're going to be giving opportunities to people who might not otherwise have them. So what's coming up for folks listening who might want to attend too, if you're in Northeastern PA, or if you want to come visit, it is March 30th. And
so Path to the Profit Women's Small Business Summit. So as you mentioned, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, I am a business owner. Been doing that for about 7 years now. And I've realized, over the course of the past 7 years that I've learned a lot. Unfortunately, a lot of what I've learned along the way has come by the way of mistakes and sometimes costly mistakes. And so what I'm trying to do, and one of the things that I've always tried to do with painful life experiences is I try to transmute those and say, what can I learn from this? And then how can I find a way to heal and then also make sure that other people don't have to suffer the same way that I did. And so that was kind of, the reason for Wild Women and women coming together, healing in nature with sisterhood. This is sort of from the business aspect. The other side of me is the business aspect of it. And, and realizing that through Wild Women also, I've met so many amazing women, business owners, whether they're vendors and they were artisans, healers, yoga instructors, just so many amazing women that were just very talented at what they did. They were very, very passionate about what they had to offer, but maybe didn't have the business skills in order to really make that a reality. We talked a little bit on the last podcast about how I worked my corporate soul sucking job for about 10 years, right? And then all of that, I'm like, what is there to learn from this, and how, what can I come out of this learning this? And so I was fortunate that I had that opportunity. Whether or not I appreciate it at the time, I did learn a lot. And so not every woman has that opportunity to have those skills. And yet, so I figured there's a gap here. As a business owner, I'm seeing that I'm not seeing the programming being offered that's really targeting these small business owners, women who are maybe working that corporate job or another, just a 9 to 5, who have maybe they're doing craft shows on the side. They have this dream, this passion, but they're like, how do I make this a full-time job? They don't know how to take that step. Or maybe there's women who are business owners and they're looking to make that next step and just they're wearing all the hats. They're doing all the things. We don't have an IT team. We don't have a marketing team. We are that team. We are everything. And so, and also on top of being a mom or a caregiver or whatever else, all the other things that we do, right? So, I just felt like there was really a need to provide actionable insights for women, to really give them the down and dirty tips and saying, here's what you need to do for your social media strategy. Here's what SEO is and how you can actually use it to make it a success for your business. Here's how to make your photography look great on social media. All those really actionable tips that women are just looking for. There's a lot of inspirational programming, which is fantastic. But this particular audience, they're just like, tell me what to do. How do I make it happen? And so that's what we're all about. And I'm super excited to be partnering with Dress for Success Luzerne County on this. They're another woman-led nonprofit organization that's all about uplifting women in our organization. Their founder and executive director, Linda Loop, she is such an inspiration. What she's done here for women in our community, she works directly with women who are incarcerated or who have fallen on hard times, who are looking for that next step. So Dress for Success, they just do an amazing service to women in our community. And it just, when it came time to look for this, who to partner with for this event, it became apparent that they were such an amazing fit. That's why we chose the JCC. Both of our organizations are located right next to each other, and the JCC is right across the street. So it just all made sense. It all kind of fit into, what we're really trying to provide here to this group of women.
And now for folks who might want to listen to this, Linda was on the podcast as well. I don't remember exactly, but I will put information of when that was as well, because Linda is an inspiration. She has done a lot of stuff. I love what she's doing, helping incarcerated women. And, just to share that real quickly, as she talked about, like these women get arrested, some of them, let's say, and they might be arrested in springtime or like somewhere where all they have is a light jacket or like, light shoes or whatever. And they're getting released maybe in the winter and they don't have anything warm, they provide things like, a warm coat or, some feminine hygiene products or some, any kind of soap, shampoo, things they need, and maybe even helping get a place to live. So that's an amazing, incredible, and they do other things, of course, too, helping women get all that they need to succeed in life, which is great. They're the partner, but
so this is a nonprofit collaboration. So all of any funds that are going to be raised during the event are going directly back to women-led nonprofits that are making significant changes in our organization. So whether that's Wild Wellness NEPA and the programming that I discussed earlier, or all the wonderful things that Dress for Success is doing within our community. They just opened up their satellite branch office in Hazleton, which will be expanding and serving more women there, which is incredibly exciting. So yes, this is 100% a nonprofit collaboration, and everything will be going back into our community. So it's all about bringing our community together to really uplift women in our community.
And again, I will share in the show notes for any women that if you're free and you've been wanting to learn, like, oh my gosh, how do I make my marketing better or my website, or learn, about finances, or learn even just some new techniques to de-stress or, money manifestation, all kinds of great speakers. I will put the link to Wild Women NEPA in the show notes. You can click on it. You can see the speakers' names, their bios, some more information. And you can also, of course, register there for the event March 30th at the JCC in Wilkes-Barre. Can they do it almost right up to that day? Will there be walk-ins allowed or no?
Right now we are, this will be an advanced event. We may have some contingencies for people the day of, but because lunch is included, you have the ability. So with that $55, you're getting access to nearly 30 engaging sessions and speakers. We have 2 keynotes that are going to be led by Letha J. She's got like 500,000 TikTok followers. She's an Ayurvedic leader and manifestation coach. She's going to be talking about overcoming imposter syndrome. Then we also have Rachel Malik, local TV personality. We'll be talking about her power of personal personal branding and her story and how she's really been such a success in her industry. So it includes that. It also includes holistic workshops, like you mentioned, just yoga, de-stressing. We also have complimentary chair massages, which will be provided by the NEPA School of Massage. So there'll also be a little bit of self-care in there as well. So we're just really excited about all the speakers and women that are coming together, the women-led businesses that are be providing food and drinks for us to sample throughout the day. So with that, we do ask that we get that you do get your ticket in advance, so that way we can make sure that we have all the appropriate refreshments and everything like that for all the people that are there.
Absolutely. And that makes total sense. I took a plan for this, definitely is what we're saying. That is worth it. There's a lot of planning, a lot of details, I should say, that go into these things. So it's helpful to get a head count, so to speak. So this is Passion to Profit. And let me ask you, it is something that I'm curious about because it's something I had first heard, I think, with Wild Women of NEPA, but I've heard other women use it too. This idea of an energy exchange, or so to speak. Because I know, like, I'll also be speaking again this year at the Empower, I think they just call it Empower. I forget if it's Empower Women. That's the Greater Scranton Chamber has their event. And then last year I presented a workshop at the yoga event. And there's a certain, I don't know if it's a model we want to say, where it's, speakers are the exchange is they can attend the event and a couple other little perks, but there's no, let's say, cash and I'm saying cash, I'm sounding vulgar here, a check, a Venmo, whatever. And I just want to understand this more because it's almost like I sometimes think of even bartering, which I like that idea. Sometimes I feel like we need to go back to that to some degree in some cases, but yet we have these bills. When I first started, one of the biggest things that I got, and a lot of artists still get this, and a lot of speakers still get this: come speak to our group because you'll get exposure, or come lead laughter yoga for our group because you'll get exposure. And I used to joke, I wish I had, if that was currency, that I could pay my PP&L bill with, or, my credit card debt. But do find it interesting. But sometimes I kind of question it. And I've heard many people say it lately. It's kind of new to me. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. Now, that's certainly not a concept that I've created. It's something that, as you mentioned, does kind of sort of exist. And what I would say is this event that we're putting on right now is to actually help provide you with that exposure, right? So exposure is great, but what are you exposing, right? So if you're going to an event and you have no plan of, okay, what are you actually promoting? Are you promoting an event? Or what is your goal? What is your goal as the presenter, right? If it's just to go there and have fun and just attend the event, that's great. But if as a business and you're looking to actually make money off this, how am I actually going to monetize that? That's what this event is all about. And that's where, with Wild Women, I saw so many women who were, given this opportunity, but then just didn't capitalize on it, right? I had a woman who reached out to me at the end of the festival last year, and they didn't pay anything for the event to be there, but said, I didn't get anything from it. But then 2 months later said, when's your next event? I can't wait to be a part of it. So sometimes that exposure isn't an immediate sale that day. Sometimes it is just getting your name out there. If you're a new business, it's building those connections. It's just getting that brand awareness out there. But sometimes you're like my friend Danielle Bennett, who said, hey, I was a facilitator at this and I've doubled my sales. This has actually been the most financially lucrative event that I've been to, because of the exposure that I had going into this event. So I think it's all about how each individual understands what event they're going into, what are your expectations and what are your goals going into the event, and then how do you get there, right? The event is going to give you, what they're going to give you. Either they're going to put you on the website, maybe give you some social media. What if you don't share that post on social media, if you don't hype up that event, if you don't do anything with that, then it's just not going to go anywhere. But if you use it as an opportunity, so in your talk to maybe talk about, hey, I've written a book about this, it's for sale after the show, or hey, come see me at this comedy club next week, I'm going to be here, here's a flyer for $5 off, all attendees get a special whatever. That is how I believe that you can effectively leverage your exposure for monetary gain. And this event is absolutely targeted towards that. How do you get those business skills to be able to actually say, to know how to put that together, to put that business plan, to put that framework in place, if that makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I would share from my own experience too, that I think it's important for business people, planners, and individuals like myself to understand that when you are getting exposed, so to speak. You want it to be the right exposure, right? And this event is that. But for example, years ago, if I would be doing it for lead laughter yoga for a bunch of volunteers for a nonprofit, which I've done, if I be besides leaving there and saying, hey, maybe come see a comedy show, I didn't write a book. Although I often think, because I mean, this is like perfect if you are someone who has a book, you can, say, hey, check out my book. And that is great. So as a businesswoman, you need to discern, is this your audience and is it the right audience? And then those folks who ask you, explaining that to them as well. And the other thing, to build on to what you're saying that I think is helpful to being prepared, like you said, I will say the first one, your very first one that I did, I had like 70 women at my laughter yoga. I was thrilled with the turnout. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, who's going to cross the bridge to see me? I'm all the way over here. I was panicky in the beginning because that's how I get. I'm very neurotic. And then all these people came across. And I had my stand, my banner, which had my QR code, which led to all of my sites. I gave out stickers. I had 3 or 4 women who came to see a comedy show. In fact, the one woman came from Montrose and brought 5 women. And I did have a woman whose daughter, she told her daughter how much she enjoyed my session, and her daughter ended up getting me a gig. It was like a learning center, basically. So it did lead to that. But yes, be prepared. I would say if you can afford, and I know this gets tricky as far as affording, if you can bring some kind of branding, merch or something, be prepared to tell them where to find you. Yes, I would say be prepared to get the most out of it. And I mean, yes, you can get the most by enjoying people being there and just being in that moment. But if you do want to turn it into monetary gain, that's where you need to be prepared and think about how you can do that as well. So that's a good point. This is kind of the first business summit I would say you're leading. Would you see this as obviously you'll see what the feedback is, right? To see how you want to proceed in the future with different types of events.
Yeah, so last year we did a much smaller scale event. Right around this time was April of last year. We did a women's entrepreneurial meetup through the Wild Women kind of brand, and that was really well attended. And even since then, we had seen so many other women entrepreneur meetups. Whether it was in Lackawanna County, Luzerne County, I probably had seen maybe 3 or 4 groups start up within the past year or so. So that to me is, and this is something I've always kind of, like I mentioned, having met so many women with Wild Women, seeing this need, being a business owner myself, I'm like, there's a need here. The problem, what I'm seeing is that getting together regularly can oftentimes become a problem for women because we just have so many responsibilities, whether it's, I'm on vacation or I got this with the kids or, my mom's sick or whatever it is, right? We've got a lot of responsibilities. So I thought maybe having just one day, just like with Wild Women, the summer festival, where we have one day where we can get together, mark our calendars. I picked March because of being Women's History Month, but really just taking that one day to really just gather, come together and network and taking that one day out of our schedule. And then also with, hoping that a lot of the women who have been in the Wild Women Network, they're getting together, we're collaborating so that going into the summer festival, they have their game plan. When they get that exposure for the summer festival, they're hitting the ground running and they know what to do to really make the most out of that event. So that's kind of where I see this as almost a precursor for the facilitators and the vendors before the summer festival, but certainly it's open to all women in our community, whether they own a boutique or a salon or they're a yoga instructor or whatever their business may be, businesses of all shapes and sizes, and women who are aspiring to be business owners as well, who haven't made that leap yet, who are just, wondering, hey, I have this product. Maybe I can connect with other business owners and maybe they can start selling it in their stores. And this might be a great foot in the door. So I just think that this is such a great opportunity for so many women in our community. And I would love to see this be an annual event. I really would love to see this. And you mentioned earlier about the Empower Conference, and I myself have been a speaker there and I've attended. It's a fantastic event. I almost view this as like Empower Light, like pre-empower, right? Like women who aren't maybe the VP or the on the board or have at that status, who we're just kind of we're in the down and dirty, right? We're just in that actionable kind of, we're not quite there. So it's kind of women who are trying to build their businesses, who want to be a part of the chamber, right? So it's kind of building them into that funnel, if you will, so that way they can really kind of make the most of the Empower event as well. So as I mentioned, I'm a member of the chamber, business owner, award winner of the chamber as well. So I'm a huge, proponent of their events and what they do for the community, their business card exchanges and everything they do. I try to take advantage of every opportunity that I can, just to get out there in the community, especially after COVID. I'm seeing just more of a need, just small businesses just needing to come together, get the word out. Even a number of people that I've met that I now currently work with that I met because of you, Janine. I'm now working with Megan Alpert at Joy World Wealth Partners.
Oh, great!
Because of hearing about her on your podcast and listening to that episode. And so I was like, wow, this is just, because I want to be able to work with other women who have those shared ideals, the shared values, who are all about uplifting our community. Billionaires don't need another dollar from us, but it is true what they say. When you shop with a small business owner, we do a little happy dance. I do my little happy dance. It happens. I'm not joking. So, and I know that and I try to support as many small business owners as I can in our community, because this is what our lifeblood is. When small businesses in our community, thrive, everyone just does better. So I think it's such an important group, and I'm just really excited to be able to provide an opportunity just for women to come together and hold that space.
I agree 100% on all of that. And it is so true. And I would say even smaller than small business, solopreneurs like myself, I'll give a shout out to us, because I feel sometimes like we're the forgotten ones, but I feel like like your event coming up is for folks like us. A lot of them are solopreneurs, women who are doing, we might not have a brick and mortar or someone that does workshops. We go out to other people, or, like with me with comedy shows, I go out, I host events. So there's a lot of individual women. And like you mentioned earlier, they are their IT department, they are their accounting department, we are every department you can imagine, but for me, I'll speak for me, a smaller scale, I just have myself to manage, which is certainly enough at times, for sure. But I'm glad you connected with Megan, and that is kind of my goal with this podcast. I've had many women tell me they've heard about other women on this podcast, and so I want to keep that going. And so I'm grateful for your time, Melissa, today, and for everyone who makes time to listen and share the podcast. I would reiterate that again, because it is truly important. I am fortunate to have two amazing podcast sponsors who are women owned, Budget Through Life with Emily Hickox and Reinvented Threads with Gabby Lynn. But as I say each week, even if you don't have the funding to offer support in that way, you can also share this podcast episode. Think of who might want to hear about this, who could benefit from this. And if you don't have one specific in mind, then just share it anyway, because I'm sure there's someone in your friend group who would benefit from this. So as we wrap up, I just want to give you a last opportunity. I don't mean last opportunity like this is it, but you know what I mean. As we're closing, any closing thoughts or things you're like, oh, I should mention this, that you just want to mention before we finish here?
Yeah, so I am very excited as we're talking about this event here at the end of March, but we have announced and we'll be announcing the details shortly for our summer festival. So Wild Women Summer Festival will be happening. Our third annual event will be a Saturday this year, so that is going to be a bit of a change. Normally our events are on a Sunday, so it'll be Saturday, August 23rd. So we've announced the date, and we're accepting applications for workshop facilitators and vendors. And we're just very excited planning for that day as well, and looking forward to the event here at the end of the month, and looking forward to your workshop as well, Janine. Looking forward to having you. Thank you so much for offering to be a part of the event, and for having me on your show today, and being able to talk about what we're doing here for our women's community.
Absolutely. Thank you too for bringing women together. I do think we are very powerful and need to support one another. And these are opportunities to do so. And I could tell you, you will meet, women. I know some of the other presenters. I'm sure I'll know a bunch of people in the audience, but it's always nice to meet. Of course, at each event I've been at two of them. I've spoken or had workshops, I should say, at two of them. And I've met people that, a couple have come on to go to a show, or they've listened to the podcast, or I just learned about their business. And it's you have so many opportunities, and it's up to you to take advantage of them, I would say. So thank you, Melissa. And I will put in the show notes the website, and of course you can follow along on social media to stay updated. But if you want to register for March 30th, check out Wild Women NEPA website, and I will put the link in the show notes. So thank you folks for listening, and what's coming up in the weeks ahead. Super excited. March 20th, I have the CEO of Maternal and Family Health Maria Edwards, and it's a great conversation about this organization that is providing such important, amazing services for women, services that are actually going to, as we see, because it's kind of topsy turvy right now, where funding cuts are happening. A lot of those cuts could be at the peril of women. So it's great to have maternal and family health doing what they're doing. And I am actually doing an online comedy event March 27th, where the donation will go directly to maternal and family health. So listen for that. And then I've got ceremonies by Lori Prashker. I'm blanking on, she has two names and I'm blanking now. I didn't know I was going to say this, but she's amazing. She's got a lot of hats that she wears. She does ceremonies. She's a wedding officiant. She has shadow catcher photography. She's a speaker as well and has an amazing book. And I'm planning a conversation with Lisa Laurie, the president of Marywood University, that we're arranging the time for that. So a lot of more fascinating, wonderful conversations coming up, of course. And I will continue to search to have other interesting guests. And please feel free to message me if you have some woman in mind that you think would make a great guest. I'd appreciate that. That would be awesome. So, as I say every week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.